Every now and then I get a watch on a channel that I don't need to review. And the reason I say that is because there's certain watches that are so well finished and designed, if I just show the images and the detail of the watch, those images speak for themselves. This is such a watch. And in the famous words of Nicolas Cage, that's high praise. Let's check this thing out. What I've got in the hand is a Direnzo DRZ04. This is the version 2. The version 1 sold out straight away, and because of popular demand, Sergio has made a second batch of these watches with new colors, and you know what? They're phenomenal. There's probably a couple of small gripes that I found on this watch in the time that I've been wearing it, but overall, gee, this is the sort of watch that makes it so difficult for me to spend money on a major brand like an Omega or a Tudor. It is so well designed, beautifully finished, just a pleasure on the wrist. It really is. Now you saw the pop-up, guys. The watch has been sent out to the channel. I don't have to send it back. But in saying that, Direnzo has zero input into this review. And it makes it very difficult when you get watches like this, that they're so nice and so meticulously finished and designed, to find faults. And you really have to look hard. And I've looked hard. I've found some faults, but what a timepiece. That makes me happy when you have to look hard for faults. Because one of the first things that I noticed of this watch is that dial, the beauty of it, but the dual minute tracks. You see, that's ingenious. You've got a minute track on the outside which the minute hand lines up with, but you've also got a minute track that lines up with that hour hand. So reading the time is extremely easy. And the contrast between those hands and indices on this light blue mint dial is phenomenal. The watch reading experience has been really great, but the look of the watch has also been really, really good. Before I continue, let me tell you the size of this watch, its specifications. What I measure is a case diameter of exactly 40.1 millimeters. I measure a case height of 11.5 mil. The lug to lug distance is exactly 48, and the lug width, well, the lug width, if you look at it, it's an integrated bracelet. So I measure 14 millimeters on that joint in the middle and 24 millimeters on the outside where it meets the case. Now the crown of the watch is a 6.8 millimeter sign screw down crown. It offers 100 meters of water resistance, and the weight of this particular watch comes in at 149 grams, sized to my 18 centimeter wrist. And for a 40mm watch, the footprint on my wrist is fantastic. As you can see, it sits really nice, the presence is lovely, the height coming in at exactly 11.5 mil, it's a no-brainer. It's a super comfortable experience. You've got the bracelet which tapers, like I said, from 24 mil down to 17 or 16.8 at that clasp. It's been a joy on the wrist, and these are the sort of watches that I actually enjoy. Something sporty, something classy. The look that I'm getting off this, especially with the case finishing, the quality of the satin brushing and that high polish is really well executed. So it is a difficult watch to find faults in at first glance. Now looking at that bracelet, as you can see, it's a H-link with polished centers. It's got screw pins, a milled clasp with twin triggers, reliable hardware and well executed. But in saying that, the watch also comes with two different options. You see, I've been wearing this blue watch on this particular clasp all week and I've been loving it. It's been great. But it also comes with the option of that butterfly, twin deployment butterfly clasp. And look, although this has been super comfortable as well, I just find that with a butterfly clasp, it's either going to be a little bit too tight or a little bit too loose for me. I need that versatility of micro adjustment. And you're probably now thinking, oh my goodness, where did you get that purple watch, Pete? Well, I managed to get both colorways into the channel to review them, and I'm glad I did because they're completely different watches. And the reason I say that is because the blue one, if you look at those hands and indices, they're black outlined, whereas the purple one has got high polished hands and indices. And on a dark dial, that works, and on a light dial, that works. So I think Direnzo has done a really, really intelligent job here in how they've designed their watches and how they executed the finishing. Moving on from that, the movements of the watches feature a Sellita SW200-1 Elaborate grade. They're basically regulated in 3 positions, and I've had both of these watches on the time grapher and they're running really healthy with a very good accuracy rate. So not only am I noticing quality finishing on the case, the build, the design, but also on those movements and their execution. Going back to those 2 colorways, it's great when a manufacturer sends you a couple of watches to have a look at, because it gives you a gauge of what the watches look like, not only in the hand, outdoors, indoors, how these dials respond, how the polished hands or the black hands respond. And that's a good thing, because it gives us as reviewers an opportunity to tell you what we see, so that you can get a better gauge on what you're looking at. Now, the lume on the watch is Swiss Superluminova BGW9, and it's very evenly applied and surprisingly very long lasting as well. So for a sports watch, there's a really good lume application, which is well done. Now, if you look at that crystal, it's a double dome sapphire. It seems to be doing a good job. I haven't got full washout on either watch. However, both crystals do pick up reflections. Being double domed, it's inevitable. It would have been nice to see just that little bit more of anti-reflective coating. Now, what I have in my hands with both watches, the main difference from the production version is going to be drilled lugs. That's it. The rest of the watch, what you see, what you get, the colors, they're exactly the same from what you're going to get on the production versions. In fact, there's quite a few colors. There's white, purple, red, there's a limited edition red meteorite, and there's this mint blue. And I think this particular watch, as a design, it's been done really well. From the styling, the execution, the clarity, the tolerances, it's really a no-brainer for a quality sports watch. Now, I did say at the start of the video that I had to look quite hard to find faults in these watches. And one of the first things for both watches was that anti-reflective coating on the sapphire crystal. Being a double dome sapphire, you're going to pick up reflections. It's a given. It's like a lens on the camera. It happens. Just a few more layers of AR would have benefited these watches, albeit there is no washout. Just an observation that I needed to share. As far as both bracelets, like I said, you've got an option with clasps. It would have been great to have an on-the-fly adjustment. For me, I like, look, I've managed to find a comfort factor on me on this particular clasp. This one is either a little bit too tight or a little bit too loose. It's obviously nice having a streamlined twin deployed butterfly clasp underneath your wrist. I personally prefer the versatility of having micro adjustment. If this was on the fly, it would have been even better. Another gripe for this particular watch is those polished centers on the bracelet. I'm not a big fan. That's just a personal gripe, and I think just satinized finish would have been perfect, because there's more than enough bling coming off certain polished edges from the bezel to that chamfer on that case. It just really, I don't think it needed it, but that, again, that's a personal choice. And lastly, as a negative, not that it's a negative, look, these watches are great. They honestly are. They're fantastic what I've got in my hand as far as a finished product. I would have liked to see potentially an applied logo. That just would have elevated these watches to a whole new different level. That's me being nitpicky. Trying to keep a watch at a particular price point. I understand manufacturers can save money and spend more money in certain areas. From what I'm looking at here, the watch is superbly finished, beautifully designed. I really don't have a lot of negative stuff to say on this watch. Because if I was to look at the positives of these watches, well, just look at them. Superb styling, a very balanced experience on the wrist. The finishing is done really well. In fact, there's a hardness coating on the cases of HV800, so there's a bit of reassurance that you're going to have a scratch resistant experience on this watch for a long time to come. That date porthole at 6 o'clock is a super legible experience. I've really enjoyed that. The fact that it's also in white contrasts, so you get a good reading, but it balances those indices and markers. It's not been an eyesore, but blended in very well. And also those dual minute tracks, ingenious. So functionality, usability, it's been a great experience. In fact, the watches also come with a couple of different strap options. As you can see, these are integrated strap options. You've got a black and you've got a white, and look, they're great. They're lovely, they're nice, malleable. I've not actually used them because why would you bother? Look at this. On that bracelet, these watches are fantastic, but I can see the appeal. Maybe in summer you want to get a slightly lighter experience. Yeah, match it up potentially, as you can see. So that's great that they've included these. That's really cool. But let me know your thoughts, guys. These are the Direnzo DRZ04s version 2, new colorways, drilled lugs. I can't speak nothing but high praise of this watch and the company. I think Direnzo is pulling out some really heavy hitters here at a decent price. I'll give you the links in the description. Get on their website, check them out. It's one of those brands that delivers such good quality and finishing that, like I said at the beginning of this video, it's very difficult to justify spending a lot of money on a brand name like Omega, Tudor, Rolex, Breitling for sports watches when you can get a micro brand delivering such stunning timepieces as these that are not only finished well but designed beautifully. There's an emotive feel coming off this, an instant bonding, and that's pretty impressive from a micro brand because it's normally something you'd expect from a major brand with a lot more pedigree and a lot more history. So in that regard, hats off to Direnzo. Hit me up in the comments, guys. Let me know what you think of these watches or this brand. I've had nothing but good experience from Sergio. Firstly, as a gentleman, as a business owner, and secondly, as a designer. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you all in the next video.